Hello guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to be asking the question, should you have sex when you're doing NoFap? And for me the short answer is yes, and I'll tell you why. But first of all, I think if you haven't dropped porn or masturbation yet, or you're obsessed with women and it's all you think about, I think you should have kind of like a cleanse period of like 3 months to 6 months. I did like 2 years where I just focused on my business, didn't go after women or anything like that. And I just focused on building stuff, building my own life, and just getting some mental clarity about who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go in life. But then once I got to a certain point where, I felt like I was okay, I felt like I knew where I was headed, I recentered everything and I went, okay, now I'm going to use sex as kind of like a motivator. So when that sexual energy came in, and it gets to the point, guys, where your balls will vibrate. You'll be sat there and your balls will literally be vibrating, and that sexual energy is radiating around your body. Actually feels quite nice, not getting that feeling again is what motivated me a lot to keep doing NoFap in the early days, where I just felt so powerful. I was like, I want to keep this feeling. It's quite nice to feel horny, if that makes sense, because it's so natural. It's like you see a woman and you're like, I'm going to go over, I'm going to talk to her. I have to. Just be like, that's what I want to do. And I wanted to retain that feeling. But then I started to realize that you can use sex as like a motivator. So I might have a task list of like 3 or 4 things that I needed done, like big things that might take 3 months. And I would say, okay, if I've written 100 articles, if I've done 30 videos, if I've done this and that, this was in the old MSI college days, in the early days. And if I do 6 podcasts, then if I tick all those boxes, then I will allow myself to have sex. And after a certain point of not having porn or masturbation in place, you come to realize that the only way that you're going to be able to get rid of this feeling of just constant sexual energy or horniness is by having sex or approaching real women. And if you starve yourself with that and you say, okay, in 2 or 3 months I'll be allowed to, if I complete these targets, it's massively, massively motivating. You might have your birthday coming up and you're having a night out with the boys. You use that as the night where you say, okay, if I get these and these and these done, I'm going to let myself do it. And it kind of motivates you to get into a certain position to then, have sex. And I think without sex, the NoFap would be pointless. A lot of guys would just give up. It's kind of like being in a 9-to-5 job and you get to the end of your month and you've worked your balls off and the boss doesn't pay you. It would feel like a kick in the bollocks, right? So I just think having sex in there as the motivator, like having it in the background and setting like sexual targets of, I'm going to work really hard for 29 days this month, and then the final weekend of the month I've got 2 days off. I'm going to give myself 2 days off. I'm going to go out, I'm going to approach real women, I'm just going to be around women, I'm going to see what happens. If it leads to sex, it leads to sex. Or there might be a woman that you talk to regularly. And you think to yourself, okay, if I make enough money in 29 days, we'll book a hotel, or invite her around and we'll have a whole day or a whole 2 days, just watching Netflix, going out for meals, having sex, whatever. And then you're back on your grind. But without that motivation, I think it's very, very hard to, without the motivation of sex, I think it's very hard to stick to NoFap. And also, like, why are you doing NoFap in the first place? To have sex with real women. That's why a lot of guys do it, so that they can feel more powerful, more valuable. They can retain that sexual energy and use it in a real circumstance, so real sex. So they don't get like ED, like the floppy dick. They can have a hard dick. It can be the best sex that they've ever had in their life. And that's why a lot of guys are doing it. So you think if you take away the main motivator, there's going to be nothing left. So if anybody were to ask me, should you have sex on NoFap, I would say if you've just started out, for the first 3 to 6 months, maybe no. But then afterwards, yeah, and use it as a reward system. Because once you do, that's when you can transmutate that sexual energy and get the best possible results. And I just think with that motivator of sex, I just think it's kind of meaningless to do NoFap.